All right, hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about why finding your true self. So finding your authentic nature, finding what you're passionate about, finding what lights you up in life, figuring out who you are as a person is really hard to do. Why this is very, very challenging when we are in a place of not feeling safe. Okay? And this is something that we talk about a lot in this self-love work. Okay? In pretty much all of my videos, we're touching at some point or other around this idea of building safety in our bodies, feeling safe with ourselves, because safety, as much as the world has complicated these things and made it into some bigger thing than it is a lot of the time, finding safety moment to moment, because generally speaking, none of us are going to be able to find safety all the time, but finding our capacity to build this inner sense of safety is the key to figuring out what we're wanting, what we're needing, what's true for us, what's real for us, what's authentic for us, our authentic expression. All of these things, when we are in a place of safety, are going to be so much more easy to access. They are going to be easier to find, easier to define, easier for us to actually build awareness around and then to follow through on than when we're frantically running around like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to figure out who we are, trying to figure out what our authenticity is, trying to figure out what we need in a relationship, or what's the right thing to do, or what's the wrong thing to do, or what job should I have, or should I go to this school, or do this work, or whatever it is. Am I a poet? All of these questions, like the big overarching, who am I, what should my life look like if I'm being authentic question, all the way down to what is true for me in this moment. What do I need in this moment? How do I figure out what to do with this problem I'm facing right here, right now? It all comes down to safety and validation first. And from that place of safety and validation, we are going to understand our authenticity. Our true self is going to come out. We're going to understand what's real and true for us and what isn't. And we don't have to do all of these personality quizzes and figuring out if you're neurodiverse and all of these things. These things can help, but generally speaking, you have access to who you are. You know what is right for you in your body. You can feel it. You have this awareness. And it is through safety that you access the awareness. Okay? This is what I really want you to understand. We don't need all of these crazy tools to figure out what's right for you. That's why the self-love path is so repetitive, and why I keep coming back to the same key tools over and over and over again. Compassion and curiosity being the foundational ones. Because when we are able to connect with being compassionate with ourselves, being kind to ourselves, understanding that we have a good reason for feeling what we're feeling, for doing what we're doing, for experiencing what we're experiencing. When we can make that safe, we can first process whatever's coming up. And then from that place of feeling validated and secure and connected and like we're not broken and there's not something wrong with us and we're not trying to fix ourselves. We can get curious about what's naturally there. Okay? This is what I want you to understand. The answers to your questions of who am I? What's a life that's going to work for me? What's my authentic expression? That answer is already here. It's not out there somewhere. You don't have to go find it. You don't have to discover it. It's not going to get created. It's already here. It's already in your body. It's already in your mind. The answer is here already. And through safety, regulation, compassion, and curiosity, that's how we become aware of it. Okay? This is an awareness practice more than it is anything. Coming into your authentic self is an awareness practice. Okay? It's not out there. It's not something that needs to be dug up or excavated. There's no magic that needs to happen. What is authentic to you is already here. It's already present. It exists. We do these tools so that you can become aware of it. You can just settle the noise, settle the chaos, and become aware. Okay? So that's what I want you to start with when you think about finding your authentic self. It's not lost. It's not buried. It's not impossible. You don't need someone else to tell you. It's already here. And we are just going to become aware of it through making ourselves safe. Okay? So first things first. People who grow up with a secure connection. People who grow up in families with caregivers and authority figures that make them feel, generally speaking, like they are going to get their needs met. That provide a safe enough container, a safe enough environment, a safe enough home, a safe enough school environment, a safe enough learning, growing space where that child feels like they are going to be okay, generally speaking, like they can trust that caregivers are going to be there for me. I can fall, they're going to listen. I can cry out at night, they're going to come. I can be in pain, they're going to attune to me. They're going to spend time with me. They're going to make me feel like I'm wanted. They're going to allow me to play and explore and be myself and be into the things that I'm into and not into the things I'm not into. And they're going to foster that. When you generally feel, when a child generally feels like I can trust that my needs are going to be met and I can trust that I can be myself and be okay, that child, generally speaking, is going to grow up into one of those people who we look at and go, man, you're just so like yourself. They know what they like, they know what they don't like. They probably, went to school or did whatever they were doing, forged their own life, forged their own adventure, and seemed to generally have an idea of who they were and what they wanted. They didn't spend a lot of time lost or searching. And they tend to be the kind of people who are themselves socially, right? Like when you hang out with them, they just feel nice to be around. They're not really trying. They're not censoring themselves. They're just being. And they tend to be very attractive and very easy to be around. These are the kind of people who are being authentic. And usually that is because they grew up in a situation where they had safe enough caregivers. That is what happens naturally when we feel safe. Okay? I want you to hear that again. We naturally know who we are and have a pretty easy time being our authentic self without a lot of existential crisis when we grew up in a safe environment. When we feel safe, it is natural for us to be authentic. Okay? I really want you to think of it that way. Not knowing who we are, not knowing how to process our emotions, not knowing how to express our emotions, not knowing how to work with what's really coming up for us, not feeling connected to what we're passionate about or what we're interested in. That is a result of not having safety. That is an adaptation. Shutting ourselves down, censoring ourselves, not being connected to who and what we are. That is a reaction to not feeling safe, generally speaking. It is natural for us when we have that baseline of safety to be generally self-aware, to be able to express our needs and our wants, to be aware of our needs and our wants. Okay? So again, not to say that if we grow up in a safe environment, we're going to be like enlightened and perfectly self-aware. A lot of us are still going to have to do the work to discover parts of ourselves. We're going to do the work to become more emotionally aware and masterful. Like, these are skills and tools that we will learn as adults and maybe as children in safe environments. But even that, it's a million times easier to develop emotional awareness, to develop emotional maturity, to develop awareness around what we want and what we need and how to express that in healthy ways, to develop the awareness of what we're interested in and what we want to pursue and how we want to pursue it. These things are easier to develop and to learn and to embody when we feel safe versus when we do not. These things are generally natural to us or are much easier to learn when we feel safe. They are things that we grow up not having or having a great amount of difficulty developing when we feel generally unsafe. Generally unsafe. I was going to say genuinely unsafe. Generally unsafe. Okay? This is why in my mystery school, there's a whole curriculum on why not having secure connection in our childhood is the root of shame, blame, and guilt, is the root of why we are not connected to ourselves, is the root of why we don't know how to express ourselves, is the root of why we don't know who we are, and why trying to build these things as adults seems to be so much harder for some of us than it is for others. Because again, even if you had a perfectly secure connection, even if you had a great, consistent household. That doesn't necessarily mean you're like the most enlightened, self-aware, awesome, polite person. It just means that learning these skills of self-monitoring, self-awareness, self-expression, and mutual care and respect and all of these things is way easier. Okay, so I want to put that little caveat on there. It's not to say that having a secure connection makes you a perfect person who's fully self-aware and enlightened. It means that when you had that safety, when you have that foundation of safety, learning these things is much easier. And we're not going to have all the trauma around it. When we grew up unsafe, it's going to be much harder. And we're going to have probably a lot more blocks and things that we're going to have to work through in order to develop our self-awareness, in order to develop emotional awareness, in order to learn how to express our emotions healthfully, in order to learn how to be in mutual, loving, adult relationships that are healthy. It's going to be harder. Authentic expression, healthy expression is going to be harder when we grew up without a secure connection. Okay? So I want you to have that as the foundation. That if you really struggle to know who you are, if you feel like your authentic expression is just completely buried, if you feel like you don't know how to understand or moderate or control your emotions, if you feel like you don't know who you are, like you don't know how to make decisions, like the idea that if something feels like shit, it's not true, just like blows your mind. It's not because you're broken. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're shameful. It's likely because you grew up in a situation where you weren't safe. And so your foundations for this stuff were not secure. You didn't have good foundations. And when we don't have secure, good foundations, it's really hard to build healthy things on top of it. When we have good, strong foundations, building these healthy things on top is much easier. So like I said, that's why in the mystery school and in all my one-on-one work, we work on the child stuff first. We work on the family of origin stuff. We work on the where did you get shamed, blamed, and guilted into these emotions are not okay, the way that you feel is not okay, the things you want and need are not okay, the things that you're interested in are not okay, the things that you feel like you have to be interested in or that you have to pursue or that you have to feel or that you have to express. Why? We work with all of that stuff because that conditioning and the ways that you're trying to live within that conditioning are your adaptation to not feeling safe to be yourself. You see? Shutting down our emotions, shutting down our needs, not feeling connected to who we are is a symptom. It's not the problem itself. These things are symptoms of not feeling safe, not feeling secure, not having the time to explore yourself, to explore your emotions, to explore your passions, because you were too busy trying to figure out how to fit in, trying to figure out how to avoid harm, trying to figure out how to monitor yourself and censor yourself to try to get safety. Okay, so that's the second thing. So I want you to think of it that way. Not feeling connected to yourself, not feeling connected to your emotions, having wild emotional swings you don't know where they're coming from, having no idea what it is that you need or don't need on any given day, not knowing how to ask for it, feeling guilty, feeling shameful, feeling like you're not allowed to be yourself. Those are the adaptations you have made to the unsafe environment that you likely grew up in and may continue to be in as an adult. Shutting yourself down, people pleasing, being what other people want you to be, feeling guilty for having needs, feeling guilty for having wants, feeling like you don't know who you are, feeling like you have to express in some way, or like you can't express in other ways, or like you don't even know what it is that you want to express. That is an adaptation that you made to try to make yourself safe, to try to make yourself fit into environments where you were not safe, where you were not supported, where you were not given the things that you needed to feel secure so that you could grow into yourself. Okay? So think of it like a tree. When a tree grows up in an ideal tree environment, it becomes naturally its most expressed self. The acorn seed, when it's supported with the right kind of soil, nutrition, sunlight, water, lack of predators, will just naturally grow into that acorn tree that produces healthy acorns. When an acorn tree is put in the wrong environment, not given the right food, not given the right nutrients, not given the right amount of sunlight, too much water, not enough water, all of these things, it adapts to survive. But in that adaptation, something is always sacrificed. Its growth is sacrificed. The nuts won't be fully developed. The leaves won't be fully developed. The roots and the branches and the bark will be messed up. It adapted to its unideal circumstances by expressing in a way that's not its fullest expression. It changed its behavior in a way to try to just survive within what was the conditions it was in. That's exactly how we are. When we are not safe, when we don't get a safe environment, when we're not supported, when we don't feel like it's okay for us to be who we are, we adapt. We adapt by creating people pleasing. We adapt by shutting down our emotions. We adapt by disconnecting and dissociating from ourselves and what we want and what we need and what we're passionate about and what we don't like. Because we're trying to fit in, to be safe. Because again, remember, in our early childhoods especially, survival meant being loved and approved of by our caregivers. Being loved and approved of by our caregivers meant survival. To be rejected by them, to be harmed by them, to not be attuned to not be loved, to not be connected, was an existential threat. And the only way we knew to respond to that was to try to change and fix ourselves. We would have adapted to that by changing ourselves, adapting our behavior, adapting our emotional responses, adapting our expression, adapting to looking for what we should do and what we should be versus being able to just naturally grow into and explore what was naturally there. That's why that happens. Okay? It's natural for us to know who we are, generally speaking, when we grow up in a safe environment. It is unnatural to grow up in an unsafe environment. Therefore, when we grow up in an unsafe environment, we adapt by shutting parts of ourselves down, pretending to be things that we aren't, pretending to feel things that we don't, pretending to not feel things that we do, being disconnected from who we are. This is why, if we really want to figure out how we feel, if we want to develop emotional awareness, if we want to understand what our passions are and what we're here to do, if we want to understand the kind of life that's going to work for us, if we want to learn what our enough is, if we want to develop these very adult skills of mature relationships, where we know how to give and take, we know how to communicate, we know how to be mutually in loving, respectful, boundaried relationships. All of this starts with first creating safety. Because from that place of safety, all of these other things are either natural or incredibly easy to learn. From a place of not feeling safe, all of these things are impossible or will feel like, university level calculus when we haven't even learned addition yet. Safety is the foundation for all of this. Okay, so do we need to go to the big Tony Robbins event? Do we need $4,000 million worth of life coaching? Do we need a billion personality tests? Do we need all this stuff to figure out who we are? Do we need to be meditating for 4,000 years in order to become enlightened? For most of us, probably not. The thing that's missing isn't more self-help. For most of us, we've done all the self-help things. We've done all the try to fix myself stuff. We've tried to get rid of the inner critic. We've tried to stop being people pleasers. We've tried to stop shutting ourselves down or connecting with our authentic self, and we've done all the meditations and we've done and we still feel lost. And the reason for that is because we're still working from a place of trying to fix ourselves. And that automatically puts us in a state of not feeling safe. Okay? So this is point number 3. So point number 1, self-awareness is natural and much easier when we are safe. Not having self-awareness, not having emotional awareness, not being able to regulate ourselves, all of these things come from a combination of not feeling safe, so we adapt, and not being supported in learning these tools. Safety and learning. Okay? Now, point number 3. When we approach trying to gain self-awareness, emotional regulation, healthy communication, healthy boundaries, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I need. This is who you are. How can we be in a healthy relationship, not codependent, not independent? How can I figure out what my enough is? How do I know what my path in life is? All of that. When we come from a place of trying to fix ourselves, when we say there's something wrong with me that I don't know who I am, there's something broken about me that I'm a people pleaser, there's something wrong with me that I feel all confused about what I should or shouldn't be doing. When we start from the foundation that there's something wrong with me, I shouldn't feel how I feel, I shouldn't be confused, I shouldn't be upset, I shouldn't be where I am or how I am or who I am. I need to fix this about myself. That triggers us into a state of feeling unsafe. That triggers us into a feeling that we are unsafe. It is self-rejection. I'm broken. I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. I shouldn't feel this way. I should feel another way. I don't know who I am. I'm failing. I'm missing my opportunity in life. I'm broken. I'm bad. I'm wrong. That, to our nervous systems, is always going to read as rejection. That's going to read as shame. That's going to read as guilt. That's going to read as I am not safe. And what do we know about not feeling safe? It makes figuring out who we are and what we feel and how we need to regulate ourselves and all of this stuff a gabillion times harder or impossible. We cannot figure out who we are, what we need, what we want, what's healthy, what's balanced, what's people-pleasing versus what's true authenticity from a place of fear and self-rejection. And when we are working from a place of how I feel shows that there's something wrong with me, how I'm acting is something wrong with me, I need to fix myself, the fact that I don't know myself is something wrong with me, I'm failing, I'm broken, that triggers us into a state of not feeling safe. And it makes the whole thing a million times harder. Right? And then we get into all these spirals about how I need this and I need that and I have to go on ayahuasca and I have to do all these things to discover myself and it's going to be this whole thing and I need to be healing and I need to heal now and I need to stop being a people pleaser now and I need to stop being who I am now. I need to stop needing love. I need to stop, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's when the mind just goes and goes and goes. Because we're in a state of panic. We're in a state of not feeling safe. We get ungrounded. We step out of our adult perspective and into our child perspective. And then we lose the plot. Because of course we do. That's what's naturally going to happen when we get into that state. So number 3 is if we really want to figure out who we are authentically, if we really want to figure out what we feel, what we want, what we need, what's the right next step for me right now. So who am I in general? What do I need right now? We cannot work from a foundation of I'm broken and I need to fix myself. There's something wrong with me. I'm missing something. I'm lacking something. How I'm feeling is shameful. What I'm wanting is shameful. What I'm focusing on is bad. I shouldn't care about this. I shouldn't be in this spot. I shouldn't still. That all just sends us deeper into fear, deeper into self-rejection, deeper into not feeling safe, which is the whole reason we're in this situation to begin with. We cannot work from self-rejection. Okay? So what do we do instead? How do we actually start to find ourselves? How do we start to figure out what we're actually feeling? What does this whole thing look like? Well, it's everything I've been saying for the last 10 years. We have to start with compassion. We have to start with making ourselves safe. And this is why, right, in my mystery school and in my videos and in my blogs and in my one-on-one work, we just keep coming back to this foundation over and over again. And I cannot tell you how many just like breakthrough revolutions I've had with clients where they were actually able, because here's the thing, they were able to have the breakthrough revelation in their mind, but at the same time, they were actually able to act on it. They were able to do something with it. Because it wasn't some big ayahuasca, fasting, breath retreat, stimulus, over revelation, hyper thing, overstimulation. They were able to have a complete shift in their mindset, an understanding, a realization of who they are, what they want, what they need. And then they were able to have practical steps of implementing that into their life. Because we started with safety and validation for where they were at. Okay? So a lot of the time, my clients come to me at the beginning of the session feeling so confused. Just having all of these feelings and all of this, I shouldn't be feeling this, but should I be feeling that? And I think I want this, but I don't know if I want that, and I don't know what's right for me, and did I make all the wrong choices, and what's the right next step, and should I be with this person, or should I be leaving them, or should I be taking this job or not, or I don't know why I'm doing this behavior over and over. And we're all freaking out and unregulated, and they're coming to me being like, Allie, can you fix me? And I get it. That's what the world tells us to do. I'm broken, I'm confused, I don't feel good, this is bad, fix it. We gotta fix it. I'm not good. And the foundation they are always going to get met with when they meet with me is, okay, slow down. There is nothing wrong with you. You are feeling how you're feeling for a reason. You feel disconnected for a reason. You feel doubt and confusion for a reason. You're behaving how you're behaving for a reason. And it is not because you're broken. It is not because you're shameful. It is not because you're not trying hard enough. You're not triggered because you're just weak or lazy or choosing to be triggered. You're not people pleasing or going hyper independent because you're just lazy or bad or wrong or don't know how to have a healthy relationship, and that's some bad thing about you. You're just choosing. You're not denying your authentic self or unaware of what you really want or what you really need because you're just choosing to ignore yourself. You're doing these things. Oh, right, and whatever you're focused on, the thing you're struggling with, the thing you can't stop thinking about and can't stop fixing in yourself, you're not doing that because you're just bad or broken or superficial or silly or it doesn't matter. These things are all coming up because you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe. You haven't been validated yet. So before we're going to figure out what you want and what you need, who you are, what your authentic expression is, what the answer is, should you be with this person or not? Should you go down this path or not? Should you feel this way or not? Before we figure any of that out, we have to start with, what are you feeling right now? Right? Sad, scared, confused, angry, lost. And in order to figure that out, usually, we're going to start with people being like, well, I'm feeling shame. I feel like I shouldn't want this. I feel like I shouldn't need this. I feel like this is broken about me. I feel like I should be doing this thing and I don't want to. I feel like I shouldn't be doing this thing, but I really want to. I feel bad. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I feel like I'm failing. That's usually right. I shouldn't be, or I should be. There's something messed up with me. And Allie, I need you to fix me. Get me to stop doing this bad thing. Get me to figure this out. I need to stop being this way. And so we start with, okay, why are you actually feeling how you're feeling? Shame, blame, and guilt are always lies. Shame, blame, and guilt are always lies. You're not broken. You're not bad. There is nothing wrong with you. So if we start with that foundation, what are you actually feeling? And people then usually need a safe space to express what they're actually feeling. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling isolated. I'm feeling like this person really crossed my boundaries and hurt my feelings, and I want to blame myself because I don't know how to be upset at them. This is normal to me. So the fact that it feels bad to me makes me feel like there's something wrong with me, instead of me being able to identify, well, maybe this feels bad because it is bad. It is out of alignment. It's not good. I'm seeing the situation as healthy and fine, and my reaction as being bad, when really in real reality, the situation is unhealthy. And my reaction makes sense. I don't feel connected to who I am or what my authentic expression is because I'm petrified of being that. Because when I was that in my childhood, I got rejected. I got harmed. I got told it wasn't important. I got told it was invalid. I was continually and perpetually told I should be some other thing. Getting love meant shutting myself down, or acting like some other way, or getting rid of these emotions, or not feeling this way or that way. That's the first step. Validation for what you're actually feeling, the things that you've been through, grieving the fact that you weren't safe, grieving the things that you've been through that made you feel like you had to reject yourself. All these adaptations you made that are not your fault. Right? Digging and digging and digging until you can finally say, okay, yeah, I have this pattern of people pleasing, or shutting myself down, or thinking I need to be this way, or emotional explosions, or whatever it is. And that is not because I'm shitty. That's not because I'm just choosing to be shitty. It's not because I'm just immature. It's not because I'm bad. It's because I wasn't supported. I wasn't made safe. It was not safe for me to be myself. It was not safe for me to feel how I'm feeling. I don't know how to connect with my actual feelings. I still feel like everyone around me needs to approve of me before I'm safe. And we have compassion for that. Validation, compassion for what we're actually feeling in the moment. We make that safe. You're not broken. You're responding. You're adapting. You're showing your adaptation to whatever environment wasn't ideal. And that's not your fault, and there's nothing wrong with you that that's happening. That's how we develop safety. That's what safety looks like. It's okay that you feel how you feel. It's okay that you're adapting how you're adapting. That doesn't mean you have to stay this way forever. You probably don't want to stay this way forever. You probably don't like these adaptive habits. That's okay. You can feel frustrated and upset that the lack of love and support you got, the lack of education that you got, has led you to have these unhealthy adaptive coping mechanisms. You can be upset that you don't know how to healthfully process and express and be. You can want something different. Just, you don't have to blame yourself. Right? We have to hold both of these things at once. We can grow and change and adapt and evolve without making what we're doing now mean that we are failing and we are bad and we are wrong and we are just choosing to do it and not choosing to be better, because that's not true. Okay, so we start with the validation. We start with the safety. We start with the this is not my fault and I did not choose this. We see where the patterns came from. We validate that that was painful and not our fault, and we didn't ask for it and we didn't deserve it. We didn't call for it. And now we have these patterns, and it's shitty, and it's a mess we now have to clean up that we did not make. That is where we want to start. This is a mess that I did not make. This is a mess that I did not make, and I now have to clean it up. And that's shitty. But I have a good reason for being how I am, for feeling how I am, for having the unawareness that I have, for having the blocks that I have. That's all a reasonable adaptation to what I went through. And then we start to get curious. Okay, so what am I feeling? From this place of safety, from this place of seeing these things are not my fault, from this place of seeing my adaptive behaviors as adaptive behaviors, not flaws, now, how do I make myself feel seen? How do I make myself feel heard? What do these parts of me want to express? If I'm no longer seeing myself as bad, wrong, shameful, guilty, broken, what am I actually feeling? And we give ourselves a chance to express. We're going to get angry at our caregivers. We're going to get angry at our past. We're going to get sad. We're going to realize, hey, I'm really angry at my partner, or I feel like my boundaries are getting pushed, or I feel unsupported, or I feel like this isn't right for me, or I feel like I really don't want to go down this path. And that's when your authenticity is going to start to come to the surface. When you feel validated, loved, and safe, your natural expression is going to naturally come to the surface. You're not going to have to dig for it. You're not going to have to search for it. It'll just be there. That is the magic that I have seen over and over and over again in my sessions. We don't need all the personality tests and all the digging and all the fasting and all the magic mushrooms and everything in the world. If we can just validate what we're feeling right now, make ourselves feel safe, let ourselves get upset about what happened to us, and make all of that okay, stop blaming ourselves, get out of shame, blame, and guilt, the awareness of what we really want and what we're really feeling and what we're really needing, it'll be there. It's just there. So much of the time. I've literally never seen it work any other way. People will just know what they need. They will know what they want. They will know what's true for them. And they'll know because it feels good in their body. It feels grounded. It feels centered. When we feel safe and empowered, it's just going to be there. We're not going to have to go searching for it. It's not going to be this big, I have to go on this whole big grand adventure soul search thing. Just one little step at a time. Every time you validate yourself for how you're feeling right now. Every time you validate the pain you're in right now. Every time you validate the confusion. Every time you validate that you're people pleasing. Every time that you validate that you're all in shoulds and shouldn'ts and shame, blame, and guilt. And then you go deeper into what am I actually feeling? What's really going on for me? If I'm not the problem and if I'm not broken, what am I actually feeling? We let that out. We make that safe. We express that. We see that our blocks are not our fault. We see that we are not choosing. Yeah? Then we can start to get curious about what I'm wanting, what I'm feeling, what feels true for me, what feels grounded, what feels right. When we're in that place of feeling safe, validated, and approved of, our authenticity is naturally going to rise to the surface, and we're not going to have to force it there. Safety is what brings awareness. And then, because we're working from a place of safety, figuring out small steps to take towards getting what we want and having what we want and expressing what we want and creating what we want in life will then start to be more apparent and more doable because we're in a state of safety. Because again, when we're in a state of fear, I have to do this, I've got to do this, what I'm doing is wrong, we're going to feel like, well, now I have to change my whole life before I'm going to feel better. I have to be completely authentic all the time. I have to get rid of all of my people pleasing. I have to completely know what I want and what the end goal is going to be and what my profession is going to be, and I have to have all the answers right here, right now. That's working from fear. When we're working from safety, we're going to be like, okay, what can I do right now? Just right now, to make myself feel safe, and in this situation, can I communicate a little bit differently? Right? I'm not going to fix all of my people pleasing forever, but in this situation, maybe I could do something a little bit different, a little bit healthier, a little more self-supportive. In this situation, with understanding more of what I want and what works for me, what's my next step? Not how do I create my whole life, not how do I figure everything out. One step. What's the next step I can take in just expressing myself a little bit more authentically today? What can I express in my relationship that's a little bit more in alignment with how I'm actually feeling in a healthy, grounded adult way? How can I own my desire without making good, bad, right, wrong? Just saying, this is just what I want right now. And then how can I communicate that to the people around me in a healthy, non-combative way? Because I'm an adult now. I don't need to ask for permission. We're going to find that when we're regulated, we don't need the whole picture. We can see that we don't need to heal all of our trauma before we can feel better. We don't need to completely get rid of people pleasing or being too independent or our triggers or all of our trauma or all of our bad habits or completely figure out who we are and how we're going to be that. We're going to be like, no, okay. I just need to take the next step and then keep validating myself, asking myself what I need, and then the next step. Validate, make myself safe, what do I need, next step. Over and over and over again. And that's how we heal. That's how we transform these things. That's how we find our authentic expression. You're never going to see the whole path. You're never going to heal it all in one moment. It's just going to be one step at a time. First, through creating safety. Safety is the foundation for all of this. Safety, it's okay that I feel how I feel. This is not my fault. My patterns are not my fault. I am not broken. I am not shameful. There's not something wrong with me. What am I actually feeling? If I'm not feeling shame, blame, and guilt, if I'm not broken, if there's not something wrong with me, where did these patterns come from? How did I adapt? Where was I not getting my needs met? Where was I not safe? Okay, this isn't my fault. This is a mess I didn't make, and I now have to clean up. Now I express myself. I'm actually angry. I'm sad. I process all of that. And then I get curious about what I actually want and what I actually need. My authentic self is going to be there. And then from there, what's the next little step I can take to start making that more of my reality? That's it. Over and over again. Okay? Safety is the bottom line for figuring out who we are and what we want to be. Safety. Not all the magic stuff. It's just safety. That's the secret. That's the secret. That's the secret. That's the secret. It's safety. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something. I hope it was supportive. I hope it clears away all the magic and confusion. Create safety by validating yourself, realizing you're not broken. Your patterns are there for a reason. What do you need? Shame, blame, and guilt are always lies. That's the foundation, and from there you're going to figure it all out. One step at a time. Okay? Okay. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again whenever I see you. And until then, goodbye.